Okay, I think that's it. Ah, ui.
Chegou a garra, chegou a emoção,
Oh my
chegou a
God.
escola de samba mais querida do planeta, chegou a estação primeira de Mangueira. Vamos embora, meu
Amazing.
povo! Alô, nação verde-rosa! Alô, minha escola querida, vem comigo!
So good.
Mangueira! Quem me chamou?
Mangueira.
Chegou a hora, não dá mais pra segurar. Quem me chamou? Chamou pra sambar. Não mexe comigo, eu sou a menina de olhar, oi. Não mexe comigo, eu sou a menina de olhar. Quem me chamou? Quem me chamou?
Mangueira.
Chegou a hora, não dá mais pra segurar. Quem me chamou? Chamou pra sambar. Não mexe comigo, eu sou a menina.
So good.
All right, all right. So, in the Bluntly series today, we have Felipe Braga, all the way from Brazil, almost, but Berlin. You're in Berlin, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is actually the best samba song ever I've listened to, and
That's a good pick.
yeah, like Mangueira. Which samba school do you support?
I like Mangueira a lot. I think
Yeah,
Mangueira will be my pick too.
this is
Yeah, for
the
sure.
original ones, right?
Yeah, I think one of the first, maybe the first even. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
actually watched a documentary this day called Samba and Jazz.
samba and jazz.
Yeah, so it's a Brazilian filmmaker. He traveled to New Orleans, and
Uh-huh.
then he also went to Rio, and then he was just like tracking the origins of jazz and origins of samba, which is actually the same, basically, right? Also the same period of time and everything. So they were just like tracing like the parallel between the two. It was really, really interesting documentary.
Yeah. You're originally from Santos.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was born in a city called Ribeirão Preto, which is the
Uh-huh.
interior of São Paulo,
Yeah.
the São Paulo state.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Santos, like almost
Santos. Yeah. So for the people who don't know what Santos is the birthplace of Pele, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's
So
it's
there
a
you go.
city on the coast. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, one of our dancers reminded me that Alexei has a message from you from last week. I hope that this is not a like vulgar word, but I'll just say it. He said "Yokarne babai,"
Yokane
something like
Babai.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But
So,
that's Russian, right? That's Russian,
yeah,
right?
that's Russian. Yeah, I don't know the meaning, so
Yeah, what
I
else was it?
just.
Yokane Babai. I don't remember what it was, but it's
Yeah. So next week we're gonna have other dancers, so maybe you will have a message for them at the end of the
oh,
show.
good. Okay,
Yeah.
good to know. Yeah.
So great. So Felipe, just before we were talking about what you were doing today, and I think you're, even though there's this Corona thing going on, you're still hardworking. So what have you been doing today? All day
Uh,
long.
yeah, so today I was focusing on the chorus challenge. It's something
Mhm.
that I'm because I launched a Patreon recently, and
Yeah.
I'm still working on all the details of it. And today I was working on the chorus challenge, which is something that I will release every month for the patrons, people who
Yeah.
support my Patreon. And it should be a chorus long routine, solo routine this time at least,
Mhm.
and that should be very tricky. So it's basically everything that I'm currently working on. And so today I spent the whole morning in the studio piecing this routine together, and it was really hard. It was really hard for me. So I'm very excited to see how people take the challenge and how the progress that they make trying to learn the routine.
Yeah.
So it was really
How
nice, really
can
good
they
working there.
reach this online Patreon classes? Where should they look for?
Yeah, so the website is patreon.com
Uh-huh.
slash Braga Felipe altogether.
Patreon.com
Slash
slash Braga
Braga.
Felipe.
Yeah, and
Okay.
like Patreon works that like there's different like tiers of subscription, right? So you
Yes.
become a member. You can only be a supporter, which means that you just contribute for my art form without
Uh-huh.
getting anything back. And
Yeah.
then the levels go building up. The second one, you get some videos of like some practice instructions. So I can give some
Mhm.
little things so you can practice during the month. Then another one, you get the chorus challenge, right, which is this big routine. So you
Yes.
only get the video of the routine, so you can try to break it down by yourself. And then the next year, I do the breakdown. So I
Mhm.
send also the breakdown for you. And then the next one, I give a feedback on your
Yeah.
on your Charleston on your chorus challenge.
Mhm.
Then there is another one that I have a private group, which I'll do like a live class with that private group every month, with like from Zoom, so I can give like feedbacks and stuff.
Yeah.
Then the biggest tier, which is called the Vanguard, I give a private lesson online every month.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So that's it. Let's see
So
how it works
you
out.
have a lot of things to do,
Yes,
although we
exactly.
have the corona.
Mhm.
How are things in Berlin regarding corona? Are you getting back to normal or?
Yeah, well, Berlin, I was very lucky that I think in Germany, they never went into lockdown.
Uh-huh.
So there was a lot of restrictions and a lot of other things, but we were able to go out still.
Mhm.
And I think it has something to do with the recent the recent stories, right, of the Cold War and like the restrictions that like the government had imposed back then. And I think
Yeah.
there's still people alive from that period that like they didn't want to bring this trauma back or something, right?
Mhm.
I think I heard something that was the reason why they didn't want to do the lockdown.
The lockdown, yeah.
Um, so, and I think Berlin in Germany is one of the cities that had the best results in a sense. Like
Yeah.
that we have right now for a city of like around, I don't know, 4 million people, we have less than like 600 cases active right now.
Yeah.
And we
Wow.
only had like a couple hundreds of deaths as well. So I don't know. It's a good city to be in a sense. So I'm very lucky to be.
Yeah. I think we are about on the same page, but we
Mm.
don't know whether we are actually. But
Uh-huh.
we want to believe it, but we'll see. Uh,
Well, it's hard to
so
know like if there's not
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of like
When did you move to
transparency.
Berlin? Like, it's been a
So
year right now.
yeah, I moved my things here in the end of June. So
Hmm.
it's been almost a year.
Okay.
But I recently got my visa officially
Uh-huh.
in March.
Yes.
So I'm official now for a month.
That's great. Um, so like I want to go back to Brazil
Hmm.
again. Like, did you start learning? I reckon that did you start learning Lindy Hop in when you were in Brazil or was
No, I
that?
had left already. So I
Yeah,
left Brazil. I was 18. I left really
yeah.
early. And I moved to Buenos Aires, Argentina,
Okay.
to do theater and study
Hmm.
filmmaking.
Yes.
And yeah, and it was a girl from university that invited me to I think it was a blues party actually.
Hmm.
But when I arrived, they were dancing Lindy already. I think they got bored and they started
Yeah.
dancing Lindy. Um, yeah, so I started in Buenos Aires. They have a very big scene, a very old scene there.
Yes. Yeah. 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 I was almost going there because I couldn't like in 2006. I couldn't find like Lindy Hop workshop, and Lehaif was there at the time, and I was almost going there, but the flight tickets were so expensive. I said, okay,
So
maybe
yeah.
not. So do you have any background in dancing before that? Like before you got introduced into, because you're from Brazil,
Yeah.
everyone thinks that you should be dancing samba.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Yeah, I think that like the way I am a dancer in Lindy Hop, that like I study it, I went to, workshops, and I really like, learned it from dance studios and stuff. So in that way, I didn't dance before. So in Brazil, every dancing was way more casual, was like whatever. There was a party, there was music, we danced.
Yeah.
So it was, and you learn because your family dances, you learn because around you there are a lot of like incentive for it. At least in my area.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I have a background of dancing because there's a lot of opportunities in Brazil, and it's part of the culture. There's so much, so many dance styles just in the Brazilian culture. So yeah, I had something, but I think most of my, let's say, dancing or body awareness or background came from mainly theater, other
Yes.
than a dancing background, for say.
Yeah. So actually, that reminds me of how can I forget that? Normally, we have this program with Ur, also one of
Oh
our
yeah.
dancers. Yeah, yeah, in Istanbul, but he has a slight pain in his eyes right
Oh
now.
shit.
So he said like maybe he won't be able to do today. So yeah, like I'm doing without him.
No.
And he also has a, theatrical background like you.
Mhm.
And actually, is this like one of the things, like when you are like on the stage, you're like, you feel like relaxed, and also, okay, you're energetic, and also like you see that you are in the dancing, like in the moment. Does it also like part of like your theatrical background, or is it just you being you?
I mean, it's hard to say. I think that, to be fair, I think a lot of when I just started dancing, I started competing, I felt that I was, what I don't know, my background in theater gave me was just this awareness of the space and the
Yes.
audience. But I don't think it helped me to feel comfortable there. It's different.
No.
I think
Okay.
it was just like understanding like the dynamic of like audience and you, and like, because I don't believe I was a great actor, to be fair.
Okay.
Like I loved theater, and I still do, and I love doing it. um but what I loved about it was was a working group that everyone took care of, like this one piece that like everyone constructed together, and the
Yeah.
creative process was very intense. Um, so that I really enjoyed, but like as an actor, I don't think I was that great. So I think that what I brought from theater to myself was just this awareness of the space and the energies around with the audience and your other contestants and your partners. But I think it took me a while to feel comfortable, right? To like
Yeah.
be dancing in front of everyone and feel like, I think like everyone, I guess.
Yeah. How did you decide switching into Lindy Hop from like cinema and theater
Yeah.
studies? Like what happened?
So I left Buenos Aires
Mm-hmm.
because I was dating this person back then, and from America, and we moved to America, and I decided to keep studying film then. So I left theater then. So
Okay.
once I left, um, so in the US, I just didn't enjoy the film school too much,
Mm-hmm.
because in Buenos Aires it was super intense and philosophical and very about like, super
Yeah.
nice. And in the American one was way more industry and production and just doing
Okay.
things. And I don't know, I just didn't feel inspired. I wasn't in the greatest place, I think, as well. So I just felt frustrated. My partner at the time was also frustrated with her endeavors,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just dancing a lot because the scene in the US, we were in Seattle, it's just beautiful, it's incredible. So
Yeah.
we were just like dancing all the time and like being able to go to a lot of festivals and things. So we're like, well, let's just dance for now and until we decide something, you know. Then we moved back to Brazil and decided to maybe try to run a little scene in Santos, where there were no Lindy Hop back then.
Yeah.
And I don't think there is really a scene right now. And that's how I started. Like, okay, let's just run some classes here.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Herang that year, I saw an advertisement on Facebook. I think Kevin Saint Laurent shared about this
Yes.
school in Freiburg that needed a teacher.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, why not? I'm just gonna try. So I had a interview. The lady asked me to send her some videos of me teaching, which
Yes.
was
And which
not
year
great.
was that?
Huh?
Which year was that?
That was 2014, I think. Yeah.
14. Okay. Yeah.
And then, yeah, and then in the end, she took me for the job because I think I
And
just
how
told,
long
"Look."
have you been dancing back then in 2014?
So I started in 2011. So
11.
back then it's been almost 3 years because it was before
Okay.
the anniversary.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah. So and then it was good because I just told her, look, I have no experience teaching. I'm been dancing for 3 years. If I come to your job, I'll be coming to learn. You know,
Yes.
I would take it as because I want to be dancing and I think she liked the attitude that I wasn't trying to be something that I was not. And
Yes.
she taught me a lot back then.
Yeah.
And so that was my shift, you know. And then I moved to
Yeah,
Europe
great.
and started to travel.
I remember like in one of the I first met you in one of the Lindy Shocks, and you were already like great. Like I was like, wow, who is this guy? Like out of nowhere, like this guy is dancing like that. I have never seen you before. And it's like you had a like performance. Wow, so much energy. It was great. I remember that. I was like looking from the side. I was like, wow. That was really, really, really fun to watch, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah. So, but what was your approach to improve, like in those days, like in after a certain level, like you said, you still
Yeah.
want to learn when you were teaching. So, how was your approach back then, like in practicing or
Mhm.
whatever you do daily? What was that?
Yeah, I think like back then, you know, since I had just moved to Europe, I was really excited to go to as many festivals as possible, compete as much as I could, just as a form of trying myself in the dance
Yeah.
and getting involved. And I was practicing a lot. And that was the one thing that first year was really nice because I had this space that I could go, the studio,
Yeah.
and I'll practice at least 2 hours a day. Sometimes I'll practice 5 hours a day. And because I'll have classes every day. And so it was that just practicing, you know, and I had to prepare a lot of classes because I taught up to 4 classes a day there.
A
So
day.
yeah, I taught up to 15 hours a week.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was a lot. So I had to like, you know, come up with material and understand what I
Yes.
was doing, being able to explain to students. And I was
Uh-huh.
not a great teacher. So I was just like, if I come up with something cool, maybe they won't notice that I'm that bad. So yeah, and I was just just choreographing a lot for competitions and trying to come up with things to. So it was a very motivated year that I practiced a lot.
Yeah. So, but like yeah, were you going like every weekend to a festival, or how was that?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't very well paid. So, and you know, it was my first year in south of Germany, which is quite pricey, you know. So I was very anxious with the cost of everything, and yeah, and my salary wasn't that great, so I didn't have the means to travel so much.
Yeah.
But I tried to travel at least once a month. I'll try to find a studio, sorry, an event to go. So that was whenever I could afford it, basically. I was traveling a lot by trains, you know.
Yeah.
To try to avoid the cost of the planes, because at least I found that there was a place in Freiburg that had like good prices for trains. They'll put you in weird connections, so you pay less and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was try to travel a lot.
and like for most of the people, when they come to a certain level, uh, either okay, they don't see the progression anymore, that they're like getting better or better. But what, because I'm asking this because I think in the last years, like let's say in the last 5 years or something, you are the only non-boogie woogie dancer who made it to the top, you know, like so like this ILHC invitational, you know, like this competitions and like, you know, teaching in big festivals, like it's basically I think you're one of the fewer people who didn't have like this boogie woogie background at all, or did you have?
No, no, no.
Okay, so like I I actually understand that okay, they have a great discipline through boogie woogie, and they can still keep it going in Lundi Hop. So how did you actually structure your practices, and how did you get your inspiration? And you can talk a little bit because I'm gonna mute
Oh,
myself.
all right. um, yeah, I think I I was very lucky that right at the beginning, um, when I moved to Europe, like you mentioned, when I went to Lindy Shock, right? That you saw me there. That was like one of my big uh, first big festivals, and I was practicing, like I said, so much every day, in whatever I could. You know, I would filming myself a lot, watching myself, and seeing the like what I don't like to see, and it's such a painful but necessary thing to do, to watch yourself go through the first period of like not liking it. And if you do it every day, it's going to probably take around a week until you get used to it. And you just basically decide how do you want your dance to look like, or what are the things that you enjoy. And you I would watch a lot of videos to take inspiration from multiple dancers. And I think this is also a very important thing. You know, it takes something from the old clips, you take something from the new stuff that is happening, and you try to find in those elements what are the little things that you want, and you try to do them yourself. You know, copy exactly what you want and see how do you like that to look like. And in some case, I think I was lucky that I'm actually bad at copying.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I wouldn't be able to do the things, and I would just have to come up with something else that I could do. So I think very early I started to develop my own little steps, because I couldn't do the stuff that I wanted to do, you know. So I
Yeah.
had to like, and I mean, and I was just lucky that also like, you know, at least I met at least very early when I moved to Europe. And I guess because I was practicing so much every day, when we social danced, we had a very good chemistry, and she was in the moment of, you know, breaking her old partnership and trying to establish a new one. And I was
Yeah.
just in the right time, you know. So right when she needed to find someone new, I appeared, and I know she taught me a lot as well. You know, she being the top dancer that she is for decade already.
Yeah.
And just learning, I think one of the biggest things that I've always did, even before at least, is kind of like compare yourself to like the people that you admire and put yourself next to them, and try to always have this sort of perspective of like, okay, what I'm doing right now, I like it,
Yes.
and maybe the people around me like it, but would my idol or the person that I admire like my stuff? You know, if like if they show up to the studio right now as I'm practicing, would I
Yeah.
change the way I'm dancing to be sure that like I somehow show that I value the things that they do as well? So I don't know. I always put myself in perspective to the people that I admire,
Yes.
um, in all sense, like teaching wise and performing and creating,
Mhm.
and having at least, which was one of the people that I admire, having a direct
Yeah.
feedback. It helped me a lot to learn so much. And I still every time I teach with, at least to this day, I still learn something every weekend that I'm with her.
Mhm.
I'm like a sponge. I'm still like getting so much from her because she has so much to give and she's so amazing, right? So I'm
Yeah,
lucky as well in that sense.
great. I think, yeah, like definitely like practicing a lot and watching yourself is, and I think you had an image of yourself like dancing, like how you want to be seen from outside, or how you would see yourself from outside and how it would look good, kind of.
Yeah. I think it's a bit the two. Like that was like what I wanted it to look like,
Yeah,
what I'm able to do,
yeah.
and how how can
How
I
my
adapt
parents see it.
exactly, and how
Yeah,
can I adapt like
yeah.
what I'm able to do to something that I still like,
Uh-huh.
and then in the process that I develop my skills to be what I actually want to be,
Hmm.
I enjoy these little things that I can create right
Yeah.
now.
And do you think you're in the level of how you wanted to dance, like back in 3 days, like how you imagined yourself dancing, or is it
Yeah,
different than
yeah.
what you were expecting?
This is what's weird because I think that I watch videos of myself from 2014 because I
Mm.
just changed my computer, so I had to like go through all the old videos and see what I wanted to keep.
Yeah.
And I don't recognize myself at all. I don't. I was like, this is another person, is another
Yeah.
completely other dancer.
Yeah.
So I think that I didn't manage to be what I wanted to be back then,
No?
but
Okay.
I'm a different thing, that I
Yes.
think I don't know how I would appreciate it if I go
Uh-huh.
back to 5 years from now.
Yeah. But do you still imagine yourself like dancing in a certain way,
I
or
th-
did
you
you
know,
stop like dreaming about it?
yeah, yeah, I think right now I just try to see what I have, and work on that,
Hmm.
and and I think and that's something that is very hard for me, like because I'm very bad like designing something and achieving it. I'm
Yeah.
I'm way more about playing with what I have and see if I can make and build something from whatever is present.
Hmm.
So I guess I don't know where I want to get. I know the things that I like to work on right now and the things that I
Yes.
find important, and I see what is available
Hmm.
inside those things.
Yeah. I think these are really also good like recommendations for like advanced dancers who wanna,
Mm.
go out there and show themselves. But also, okay, I actually told you last night that I was not gonna probably ask this question, but I will ask you. So the way that you step is much more different than what I see out there. Like it's like it's a Felipism basically. So what do you think that makes it special? Like the bounce that you do, and is it your Brazilian roots or?
I I don't, yeah, because we talked a little bit about it and I
Yeah.
didn't understand what you meant. Like I don't see what you see.
No, I'm actually analyzing a lot these days. Like
Mm,
as I told you, I've been studying Dean Collins a lot for the last
mhm.
3 weeks.
Nice.
I see a lot of Dean Collinsisms, and I actually I will come to that. I also checked you out like quite a lot before, but you have this special kind of walking, and
Mm,
like.
mm.
But you said like you use your ankle a lot.
Yeah, this
Is
is yeah, this is one thing
it?
that yeah that I find that helps me a lot.
Yeah.
That helped me being able to swing. And
Hmm.
this is like for me my biggest focus right now.
Hmm.
Because I've been always about like weird rhythms, trying to fit a lot of things and doing unconventional moves and things like
Yeah.
that. And those things are great to explore and to create. But once you found the movement you want, you
Yeah.
gotta find how to make it swing. That's
Yeah.
the only thing that matters in the end. And
Yeah.
and I found that for me to keep that constant swing going,
Uh-huh.
for me, it helps that I keep my ankle loose and I can
Yes.
keep pushing from my ankles to keep
Yeah.
the movement going as I do rhythms and as I accent things.
Yes.
If you lock your ankles, it's very likely you're gonna be more staccato and you're gonna be
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh.
so
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
that's
Like
it.
staccato is definitely not a attribute that I can tell about your dancing. It's more like legato and like flowing. Yeah. It's I don't know, maybe because you're Brazilian, but no, no, I'm joking. I was gonna say like it gives me like the samba feeling, but that's that's very, I think,
I wouldn't
yeah,
rule that
swingy.
out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rule that out.
But do you get inspired by samba at all? Or do you,
I've
yeah,
been recently trying to reconnect more with Brazilian music, especially.
mhm,
Me and my girlfriend we always do like playlists for our day-to-day things that we have so much time here, and we've been listening to quite a lot of like
yeah,
Brazilian stuff that we put in the playlist here and there, and it's been really nice to reconnect with a lot of music that it was there in my soul somewhere and it just hadn't been played, you know,
yeah,
and it's been really nice to find it again. And I actually discovered that there's a dance in Brazil that I know of, a dance called machixe,
yes.
that apparently is a dance that came before ragtime and
Oh,
very likely influenced ragtime, which
yes,
is
mashish. Okay,
machixe.
yeah,
And
mashishi. Okay,
yeah,
I'll
so
check it out.
there is some Brazilians. This girl Cintia, she's from Rio, and she's been doing a lot of research. She found a lot of newspapers from when whiteys were in Rio in 42. You know, because they were stuck there for a while, right?
Yeah.
And so she found like newspaper with it, with like some pictures and stuff, which really nice. And she also found, and there's another guy, Felipe from São Paulo. He
Mhm.
also is a kind of like a historian of dances,
Yeah.
and he found a lot about this machixe and his connection with the birth of ragtime as well. So I still don't know much about it. I don't want to like speak out of
No. Okay.
my mouth, but I bought a book that I'm waiting for it to arrive from Brazil, and I
Yes.
can get back to you about those.
Okay. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
very curious about that.
yeah. But if you want to
Definitely.
look it up, machixe is
Mashishi. Yeah.
Maxixe. Machixe.
Okay. Mashishi.
Yeah.
And actually, okay. So uh, I was actually okay. I don't know whether about your samba roots, but from which dancers do you get inspired? Like, do you watch the like contemporary dancers, or do you go back to the roots? So,
I
your approach.
think I've been very inspired by my friends a lot recently. You know, Guze and Laya, they have been
Yes.
producing so much great material, and I'm so inspired by them, and so
Yeah.
nice to work with them as well.
Mhm.
Um, um, I mean, all the brothers and sisters in general, they're always so inspiring to me, and we kind of have the same kind of vibe and attitude towards practicing and dancing in general.
Yeah.
Um, but recently, Vasya as well. You know, Vasya is a great friend of mine, you know, this Greek dancer, and
Yes.
she's so incredible and so talented. We actually been practicing together via Zoom,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
we've
great.
been and she actually starting to share some of her old clips inspirations with me. So I've been watching some old clips that I'm super inspired by, and we're working on like breaking it down and trying to dance like them. And then with Felix, we also starting to do the same thing, like breaking
Yeah.
down some old clips together. So I think recently it's been a little bit more about like old clips a little bit.
Actually, next week we're gonna have Vasya and Avgustinos.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
nice,
So
nice.
can send something, a message for them for
Okay,
next
I'll
week
think of
at the
something.
end of
Yeah.
the
Okay.
program. Yeah, so I think I have written the right name, Mashishi, on YouTube. That should be it. Great. And so I want to come back to this Felipism once again, because like I think you have a like your own voice in Lindy Hop,
Oh, thank you.
because when you see it, it's like, oh, okay, this is Felipe. And when I also look around like the dancers, now I start to see like the last maybe few years, I see some dancers who would like to dance like Felipe, which means that then you have a voice and people would like to imitate it. So what is for you to create a voice in or your own personal style in dancing, and like how can you do it?
Yeah, I think it's for me, like I mentioned, it came a lot from being a bad copier.
Okay.
To start with, like I was when I started dancing, and I wasn't really into like looking at the old clips, so I was looking at a lot of like whatever was in IL8C. That was like my first, of course, contact with the international community.
Yeah.
And I was really inspired by like, Andy Reid and Todd and, Sky, of course. And I really wanted to dance like them, and I just couldn't dance like them. So I had to find my own things in a way.
Yeah.
But I think with more and more that like we are so saturated with, I mean, there's so many videos of dancers, contemporary dancers, and we get so inspired by everything that is being produced, and we take so many classes and stuff, and it's very hard to not take from people, right? I think the important thing for me would be it's inevitable to copy. It's inevitable to take inspiration from people.
Yes.
I think the important thing is that you take from multiple sources, and that's if instead of just one dancer. Yeah. Yeah, because I have a couple of, because I'm doing also online coaching, and I have a couple of students that they send me some videos of like the stuff that they are doing, their first improvisation video, and you can see too much of only one or two dancers there,
Yeah.
and instead of, if it's a mix of a lot of different people, it might become your own thing because you combine them in your own way. And I think it just takes time. For me, it has been a lot about creating routines and creating sequences, where you you choose a song, find music that touches you the most. Yeah.
Yes.
Finding the type of jazz that you like to listen to is a very important step as well. And once you start creating, you start seeing what the ideas that are popping up. And the very hard and exhausting trick is to never accept the first idea right away.
Yeah.
Save that idea and try two or three different things. Maybe the first idea very often is the best idea, right? Because you didn't have to think so much about it.
Yes.
But try to see if that idea came from you or came from someone that you're inspired by, and can you choose something else that is not that thing? So always trying to find how can you create something that it's not necessarily coming from one other person, right? That comes from a concept that you like, right? Try to think on, okay, I want to work on triplets accenting the us, whatever.
Yes.
And then you see what can you create with it? And then you see, is it still swinging? Does it look like someone else? How can I make it look different?
Yeah.
It's just an exhausting process, right? To like kind of see what is available to you and how can you change that into something that is more personal instead of being a copy.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know whether you would agree, but most of the dancers who are just learning dancing think that like the style is made by how many moves you know. Like if you know 100 moves and if you mix them together, you're going to be a great dancer. But I reckon what you're talking about is more like the way you move rather than how many movements, or like
Yeah.
the how many figures in dancing that you know, or is it? What is your opinion about that?
Yeah, I think the first step that I mentioned is you gotta find the jazz that you like to listen to.
Mhm.
This is by far one of the most important things
Yeah.
to do. Um, it should come from the music. It should
Mhm.
come from like the type of ideas that the music gives you, right? Primordially. And I
Yes.
think there's so many eras of jazz, so many different styles inside the music that we dance to.
Mhm.
Um, find the one that you like more. Maybe you like more chill trio ensembles, or you like big band, or you
Yeah.
usually like sextet. You like more guitar
Mhm.
focus, and once that happens, I think you learn how to dance to the music. And
Yes.
that's the start. So, and then of course, I know it's a very redundant. We've heard it 1,000 times, but like it ain't what you do is the way that you do it, right? Like you don't have to be complicated to
Yeah.
dance to jazz, right? If you
Yeah.
create a simple sequence and you let the music speak through your sequence, that the variation that comes from the music contact with what you did, it's your best variation.
Mhm.
And it's not about the complicated move, it's about how your body moves. What's your agreement with the music, your body
Yeah.
agreement. It's something that Latasha Barnes says a lot. You got to find first what's the agreement that your body has with what the song is giving to you, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And that can be expressed in the most simple of the moves,
Yeah.
right? And of course, every once in a while, you want to add some sort of like meh, right? But the essence should always be the agreement that you find with the music,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, also there comes like with the let's say like creating your own voice,
Hmm.
uh, creating. I don't know whether you can create, but creativity. Do you think that you can create creativity, or are you born with it, or what do you conceive of creativity?
It's a very good question. I think there's so many answers for it.
Hmm.
Um, creativity. Um, yeah, I think a lot on dancing. It's about
Yeah.
mindset. So about like finding a mindset that makes that you're more comfortable with, right? So you like to work with flow.
Hmm.
So let's say that I just want to be sure that whatever I do, my
Hmm.
flow is going to be perfect, or my
Yeah.
flow is going to be constant all the time.
Yes.
Maybe that's a mindset that really helps you to unlock something, to
Hmm.
unlock ideas, to find ways to keep moving around,
Yeah.
right? And maybe another mindset could be I want to be very swinging. I want to swing a lot. So whatever I do, I want to be sure that I have very strong groove.
Hmm.
And maybe that would unlock something for you, right?
Yeah.
So I think mindset is one of the things that helps me a lot. And for me, my ankles has I just want to be sure that my ankles are relaxed, and
Yeah.
then that unlocked so much for me. And that's I guess one way, right? Finding a right mindset that helps you to like unlock things. And I
Hmm.
guess of course again, stealing things from people and just mentally and seeing how can you transform that into something else, right?
Yeah.
That and I guess this is something that I do all the time. Just I find even from some of my students, this like the coaching, online coaching, they send me some incredible stuff that I'm like, this is great, and I write it down. I see what it is that I liked about it, and I use that conceptually into something that I do
Okay.
afterwards.
Yeah.
So also stealing, just learning how to steal and adapt. That's a way of creativity,
Hmm.
I guess,
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah. And like actually, we also had some questions from dancers. Like
Mm,
one thing that they are curious about is like how do you practice, because you use a lot of rhythmic variation in your dancing.
mm.
How do you practice them? Do you have a like set of like rhythmic rhythm in you like that you practice beforehand and then put it out like this when you're dancing, or does it just come with the music?
Yeah, I guess it goes both ways.
Yeah.
I today when I was doing the chorus
Mhm.
challenge, like I mentioned, I got in my head in a while because I was talking to Guz and Laya one time. We were having a Skype,
Yeah.
and they were talking about, and we were talking about what do we see in the others' creations, right?
Yeah.
I was telling them like how beautifully they can construct a very clear narrative with their routines that follow the
Mhm.
music so well, way better than I can do. Like they do it so, it's so clear. And I think
Yeah.
that mine, it's way more of like a response to the music rather than a clear follow-up. Um,
Mhm.
and and they said something like, yeah, we watch your routines, the solo routines that you've been doing live, and we only see triple steps, kick part changes, and half breaks.
Mhm.
And all the rest is just a rhythmic composition of it.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of complex elements. It's just you're just composing it to look a little bit differently, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I think this is, and then today I was working on the chorus and I was like, oh my God, I'm only doing triple steps and kickball changes. How can I don't have anything
I'm
else.
not really sure about that because like I watched quite a lot of mix and matches of you, and
Uh-huh.
you use a lot of different rhythms. Like
Yeah, but then
sometimes like the same. Like I studied you also, so I can say that. Sometimes you have this like certain rhythms that you use quite a lot, but also like I don't know where it came from, rhythms basically,
yeah,
you know.
I think I was talking to actually I think my girlfriend the other day, and we're just talking about this thing that there's so many elements in jazz
Yeah.
that are constantly being used, right?
Mhm.
They're just repeats. You know, you
Mhm.
can find the same lick, the same rhythmical idea that are used in so many songs and so many solo constructions. And I
Yes.
think, and a lot of them kind of asks for this response from the band or from the soloists.
Hmm.
Um, and I think the more you listen to jazz, the more you learn how to recognize those elements and be able
Yeah.
to answer them, be able to use them and play with.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess a lot of the creation of rhythms comes sometimes from that, from like, okay, the
Yeah.
music is doing something, and it just feels that the natural response would be this rhythm, right? And then if I'm choreographing, and then I say, okay, this is a natural response. How can I tweak it to be more powerful or more
Yeah.
interesting, right? But I guess there's a lot of understanding those little elements that exist in jazz, and they're there for you to take
Hmm.
and use it, you know.
Hmm. Hmm. And so another question here
Mhm.
that yeah, like so how is your connection, like physical connection with your partner? Is it like soft, or are you really connected, or do you allow, that's my mom calling fourth time. Yeah. Yeah, so how is your approach basically?
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I think I like to be connected as much as possible.
Hmm.
And I think it shouldn't be one thing all the time. I
Hmm.
guess it's important to be able to be a little heavier and then lighter, and then,
Yeah.
again, working on the mindsets that you're trying to go for. They would eventually affect the way you connect with your partner, right? If you're trying to be a little bit more rhythmical and crazy with your rhythms, you gotta chew your connection a little bit so you don't take your partner in a fucking roller coaster, right?
Yeah.
Or if you're working on a flowy state, very likely you're going to be a little bit more connected, right?
Hmm.
Because you're traveling together and trying to be sure that you connect one thing to another.
Yeah.
Um, I guess it changes. I guess it changes depending on the song, depending on what you want to express. But I do try to be as connected as possible, for sure. I really like to be with my partner and to be able to read what my partner is doing, not only visually, but also on how it feels, how my partner is trying to add to the
Hmm.
connection, let's say. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you're like multi-partnered, and it's like a lot of popularity also in the Lindy Hop world. Does your like connection or even your style, does it change with whom you dance, or do you try to find ways to dance like whatever happens, like the way you want to?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think being like you said, like having multiple people to work with and traveling with different instructors. I just realized that like my dancing is completely affected by my partner. You know, like I cannot do the same things that I do with one with another, and it really I changed completely. You know, and I think more and more I'm finding a way to like keep some sort of elements to my own movement, with
Yes.
regardless of the partner that I'm dancing with. Um, but the general Lindy Hop shapes and everything changes so drastically
Yeah.
depending on how my partner moves.
Uh-huh.
So I definitely try to be adaptable because you can take so much from it, right? You can learn so much, so different ways of moving. There was this one time when I was in Lindy Focus teaching, and I was teaching with I think three different partners in that weekend. And I think there was one time that I came up with this weird move that was really unconventional, which there is not a clear response that I was expecting from my partner. You know, it was so weird that I was like, all right, I know that everyone is going to do their own way. And I did with these three different partners, and I tried with some other friends as well. I didn't get the same results with any
Okay.
one of them. You know,
Yeah.
it was all different. It was such an interesting way to like
Mm, all right. Are we there? Okay. I'm gonna try to improvise as I lost connection with Felipe. Maybe Felipe is going on, but I'm not sure.
can you hear me? Did I
Yeah,
froze?
now I
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you got frozen. Yeah.
But I don't know if I stopped in the middle of something.
Yes, that you were like dancing with three partners, and then like
Mm.
everyone, like the different reaction
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
in them, and then yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
they're like,
but
yeah,
like,
with one of them the move would be longer, with another one the
yeah.
move would finish shorter.
But
Yeah.
is there any essence that you want to still keep whatever happens, like with which partner you dance? Is there a certain element of Lindy Hop you do that you want to keep to your?
Yes. Yeah, I really want to be sure that it swings.
Yeah.
That's like my big priority right now, which means trying to find space to breathe inside the moves and be sure that like, because I can get super excited
Yeah.
and add so much stuff. And if I'm dancing with like Laura Glaze, for example, we both get insane and we go super crazy. And
Yeah.
we're pretty good keeping it swinging, but
Mm.
like finding spaces to breathe for us is a
Yeah.
little complicated. Uh,
Speaking of which, you were going to be at Orient Lindy Express in September with Laura Glaze. Is it official? That thing?
yes, yes, she actually made an
Official.
announcement and everything. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not like not, the other thing. She
That
is.
she's gonna have a baby. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. She's gonna have
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
baby, and right around the time of Orient Lindy Express, that's from 10th to 13th of September, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. Yeah.
something like that.
So Felipe will be here. Hopefully, we're gonna have it, the Orient Lindy Express. But we'll see what happens with the partner, because Laura Glaze maybe will give a birth at the Orient Lindy Express dates. So this is like,
Wow. Yeah, fuck. Yeah, it's such a shame because like we actually Laura would be around in Europe and we'll be traveling together the whole month. So
yeah.
actually a lot of gigs that we were supposed to do during September is going to be now in this situation.
So Pepe has a question. Pepe Rosas, what
Mm.
makes you happy the most in social dancing, and what is your philosophy about leaders and followers?
What makes me happy in a social dance?
Yeah.
Well, I think I think I'm a very inconstant person,
Mhm.
and I think what makes me happy, it can change, but if there's one thing that it's constant is that the music has to be good. Or
Yeah,
yeah, that's and I think in a lot of events where like maybe the scene is younger, their DJs are still like learning about the swing repertoire, and that, like you said, there's a lot of like uh, postmodern jukebox playing and
yeah,
things like this, and I'm like, oh God, please just play like swing, like
yeah.
original music. Um, I guess, yeah, the music has to be good. That's definitely the main thing. And I think we're very lucky that we have amazing DJs doing such a great job, like Elena Martins, right? You have like Jonas Larsson, Felix, Megan. Um, we're so lucky. Sam from UK as well. So many people. So that's great. And my philosophy for followers and leaders, I'm not sure I understand that question.
I think in maybe terms of social dancing, like, but I think you sort of explained it already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I know that Bilge will start to get anxious. One of our teachers, we are having solo jazz from A to Z, like
Oh.
10 minutes past 8 European time from
Uh-huh.
you. But it's in Turkish, but you can still join if you like to. But yeah, we have still some time. But if you have other questions to Felipe, please write it on YouTube, and you can
Let's
have your
see.
answer. So I think many people are really curious about like competitions, and
Mm.
especially maybe mix and match.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so, and what I know is like many people who are up and coming would like to know, especially what makes them, stick out from the crowd in the prelims. So like you're also judging and also competing. So what elements do you judge when you're looking in the prelims, and what do you do yourself as a dancer?
Yeah, I think the prelims is the time that you should not try to be fancy.
Hmm.
So if there's one thing in the prelims that you should be doing is do all your triple steps. Be sure that you do very clean, basic steps, and that you're looking at your partner. You're not looking at the judges or whoever is watching the prelims.
Hmm.
So that's my goal usually for
Yeah.
mix and matches. I think that doing like clean basics, that's like what I always look for in a if I'm judging at least, And I think like if your partnership is strong enough, if you do basic, you're able to recognize your partner and see what is possible, and then maybe you can get crazy. But
Yeah.
start with like just doing basic, and if nothing happens, your basics were clean. A lot of the times, judges, there's so many people to look, they're
Yeah.
going just to mark people who messed up.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you don't mess
It,
up, if you
like
do
three
basic,
seconds that you
exactly,
check a competitor, and then you go. And
exactly, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
this is really like hard for competitors. But so you say it's just be clean and just show your basics, right?
Exactly. So basic, be sure that like, it represents the music, and be
Uh-huh.
sure that the partnership is the most important thing rather than crazy things, because no one's going to be able to watch that thing. We
Yeah.
just want to see people who are able to triple step in time, people who can do moves and connect them clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and for the strictly
Mm.
the finals or like in spotlights, do you have an approach as like just dance socially, or do you prepare something, or what is your
Yeah.
approach?
I mean, I guess it depends on the competition. I think if it's ILHC, I usually like to go prepared because I'm still not used to that division so much. Um, But with Laura, for
It's
example,
on
we
YouTube, so
exactly. But like with Laura, for example, we did the normalizer competition this
uh,
year. I don't know if you guys watched, like it's just like Harvest Moon Ball kind of competition, which is super fast, and
mhm,
we improvise everything, you
yeah,
know. So which was something that it was so enjoyable to do, you know, because we had an orchestra playing for us, you know, and we were just throwing everything that we could, super like just playing with each other. It was basically yeah, it was just social dancing the whole time, you know. And of course, it was not perfect, but I guess we still were able to move on in the like the battle, you know, until almost the final.
yeah,
So I don't know. I think it's important that to choreograph something, I think it's nice if you're not comfortable with the division yet. You know, depending of how fast it's going to be, it's very hard to dance super fast
yes,
and improvise. So I find it very helpful to start a couple of strictly trying to put together, you know,
yeah,
the spotlight.
yes,
Uh, but when doing, try to be sure that it doesn't look too much like um, a choreography. Be sure that like if you're choreographing something that is at least could be led, you know, and that if you dance to 5 different songs, that you can see that it fits those 5 songs. And
mhm,
if there's a part that only fits a couple of songs, maybe do something that it's more general, that is more open
mhm,
to
mhm,
jazz history or something.
yeah, great. So I think we have several minutes left.
Okay.
I'm actually checking out the. I mean, there are a lot of questions that I'd like to ask, but maybe we do another bluntly with Felipe
Oh,
volume
that'll be
uh,
great.
in
That'll
the
be great.
future. Yes, that would be great. So, is Ole earliest scheduled festival for Felipe at the moment? Esquire, are you? Asks you. I think is it so? Is it
Wait, again, say again.
is Orient Linde Express the earliest scheduled festival for Felipe,
I
which
mean,
has a prospect of happening?
I mean, it's hard to say. I think
Yeah,
the first, if everything goes well,
yeah,
I haven't heard from an event in July, but I guess July is shooting too close. Um, but I hope that Swim Out Costa Brava would happen, which is I guess the
okay, yeah,
first weekend of September.
yeah.
Um, but if it doesn't happen, then it will be in Istanbul.
I hope all of them will happen,
Yeah.
and we start swinging hopefully very soon. Yeah, I really feel that like it's been I haven't seen anyone except my mom every 2-3 days.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm staying at home alone. I was seeing Ur until last month, but we decided to go for the interviews at home. So you were doing it at the studio.
Hmm.
So uh, okay, very briefly, like 2 questions.
Yes.
What is the line of swing and non-swing? And another question, do you have any suggestions for DJs?
What is the line of swing?
Yes, and non-swing. How do you like perceive swing and non-swing in terms
Oh,
of Lindy Hop? Yeah.
yeah. This is a question that I think there's so many. I've seen so many interviews with musicians that that what they say is that like you know if he swings and you know if he doesn't swing, but
Yeah.
like but explaining what it is for sure, it's really hard.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
very elusive topic, like
yeah, yeah. And I guess there's different ways to
yeah,
swing as well, so it's hard to find it. For me, I try to be sure that I have that like my focus is on keeping a very strong rhythm,
mhm,
regardless of the move that I'm doing. Of course, there are moments of like evenness that there's not a lot of groove,
mhm,
but I be sure that I put those moves not for too long, because then I stop swinging for too long. And if you put a lot of rhythms in it, then you create air, so things can have a little bit of breathe, so people can take that in.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's just a lot of punches and too little time for. There is this big quote that I hear in theater, that they say that, like, the samurai master said, once you cut someone, you cannot just go cutting a lot. You gotta cut and let it bleed first before you cut it again.
Okay.
So I guess there is something about that, about, like, being active in rhythm and doing a lot of things. You gotta let it breathe, let it bleed, and let it, like, exist first. And I think that adds a little bit of this silence and dynamic that swing can exist inside.
Yeah.
And
very brief suggestion for DJs, because you were mentioning really great DJs.
I mean, well, like I said, those that I mentioned, they are like my favorites, and I might be missing some, but, like, let's say Elena Martins, Felix, of course. We have Jonas. I think it's what's the last name of Jonas? Larsson, yeah, exactly. Larsson. And then you have Sam, this guy from the UK, right? Who else? DJs.
I like Shorty George.
George. Oh, I haven't heard him in a very long time, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Sam Carroll, exactly. Oh, Sam Carroll is great, from Australia. Oh man, I'm missing. Oh, there's a guy from China that I think is super good too.
So what do you expect from swing DJ?
I think, like, all of those DJs, they just have a great selection of, like, big band music that, like, groove so hard, and there's so much attention, and they're very good picking up the energy of the room, and, like, either they do a lot of this, like, going in and out of, like, a lot of energy, and then they take you down. It's like a whole journey. They know their music so well, and they know how it builds up. They're all incredible, like, impeccable in that, like, managing the dynamics of the room. Super good.
Okay, I have a lot of pressure. We get to finish it off. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Hakan. Very nice to see you.
Program, and I'll finish how I started. So, thank you, Felipe.
Thank you very much.
See you next week. What is your message to Vasya and Avgustinos?
Ne pustimo.
No. I know.
That's great.
I know Greek, so I don't know what I can say.
Ne pustimo.
Okay, we'll see.
Well, that's mine. And just one thing, tomorrow and this weekend, I'm going to have this live workshop starting at 6:30 Berlin time. Yeah, so on Saturday, it's going to be a challenging routine, usually fast tempo and, like, fast paced class. And then on Sunday, the same time, 6:30, a little more chill, trying to work on the fundamentals and the grooves that, like, I work with to compose things. And so you feel free to join. It's donation based, open for everyone. If you can donate, you'll be very appreciated.
Great.
If you can't, and if you just want to peek in, you're very welcome to join. I'll be very happy to share my jazz with you guys.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So coming up, solo jazz from A to Z with Bilge in about 2-3 minutes. I'm sorry that the program got prolonged, but here you had Felipe. And
thank you so much, man.
Good evening, everyone. Good night, everyone. See you.
Good night.
Chegou a garra, chegou a emoção, chegou a escola de samba mais querida do planeta, chegou a estação primeira de Mangueira. Vamos embora, meu povo! Alô, nação verde rosa! Alô, Miss escola querida, vem